Very excited about this panel. We have four distinguished speakers. John Cantor is Executive Director for Privacy and Disclosure at the Social Security Administration. John began his career in 1998 as an attorney focusing on privacy, freedom of information, and data exchange, and moved over to Privacy Office in 2003. Since 2005, he's been Executive Director at that office and is a Certified Information Privacy Professional and CIPP in the U.S. Government Privacy. Roanne Shaddox is the Senior Privacy Specialist at FDIC. Roanne joined FDIC as a Senior Privacy Specialist in 2007. In this capacity, she works on a wide range of strategic planning, policy, compliance, and employee awareness initiatives aimed at maintaining a culture of privacy throughout the corporation. She also serves as the co-chair of the Best Practices Subcommittee and the Federal CIO Council Federal Privacy Committee. Martha Landsberg is sitting in for Mariana Callahan. We got word a few weeks ago, maybe one or two, not even, that something came up that she couldn't join us, so we're very excited to have Martha with us. She is the Associate Director for Policy at DHS's Privacy Office. She specialized in privacy and data protection law since 1995. Prior to joining the Privacy Office, Ms. Landsberg served as Director of Policy for Trustee as of counsel to the law firm Dorsey and Whitney LLP, where she counseled multinational companies on international privacy law, and is a senior attorney to the Federal Trade Commission. Lastly, but not least, we have Bud Horton, an executive director that leads Accenture's technology consulting security business and cybersecurity initiative. Prior to joining Accenture, Bud was a partner with IBM's Global Business Service, a former special agent in charge of strategic counterintelligence organization, a director of security for an independent federal agency, and a military officer. With that, I'm going to hand it off to Martha to kick things off.
Thanks, Mauro. Good afternoon, everyone. So we thought, let me just tell you a little bit about our plan for this panel and hope that you will be participants in it. I'm going to talk a little bit about basically why privacy, what the imperatives are, what the values are, and very quickly what our office does at Homeland Security. My colleague, Jonathan Cantor, will go next, and he'll be talking about some about SSA, but also about Web 2.0 issues in particular. Then Roanne Shaddox will talk a little bit about FDIC, but also about the interagency effort in which all three of us participate, actually, to come up with a privacy framework so that privacy is embedded in all federal government activities that involve personal information. And finally, Henry Bud Horton will, I was going to just call you Henry, and then Parham introduced you as Bud, so I thought I'd use both, is going to present briefly a very high-level summary of a recent survey that Accenture has done, a survey of both government and private sector privacy individuals. Our professionals. So why don't we, and then we're going to leave some time, we're going to try to do 10 minutes each, something like that, and then leave some time for question and answers for all of you. We hope you will think about some good questions and put us through our paces for the remainder of our hour together. Okay, so from the Department of Homeland Security's perspective, we're often asked, why is it that Congress created a privacy office by statute when it set up the department? So many people think that this was kind of an odd thing to do, but Congress actually set up both a privacy and a civil rights and civil liberties officer, who are both, each of whom reports directly to the Secretary of Homeland Security. And there was a couple of key reasons for this. First of all, when we think about what it is we're protecting as a country, we are protecting a panoply of rights and liberties and values, and privacy is certainly one among those. And you don't have to be working at DHS for this to be an important value for all of us. But this is one of the driving forces in how we at the department operationalize and systematize privacy throughout all of our activities. And as you might imagine, the department is the custodian and steward of a vast amount of personal information. So why is privacy so important? One way to look at it, there are some ways are a little bit less highfalutin than the core values of American society, but other more self-serving ways to think about it are to think about what the consequences are if we don't protect privacy. Certainly from the perspective of our department, incorrectly identifying or misusing personal information can have significant consequences for individuals. Identity theft is really an issue that all federal agencies have to tackle. But it's really not, goes beyond but it goes beyond things like breaches of databases and hackers and all of that. It's about, and as important as that is, it's about thinking about why information is needed to do my job and what kinds of information is needed given the particular job at hand, and having a perspective that is pro-privacy when we use personal information, recognizing that really when we talk about an individual file or individual data, we're talking about someone's life. And so this is important. So of course, in a self-serving way, if we mess up and there are large breaches or there's misuse of data in some way that we have not disclosed to the public initially, it damages our reputation. Also self-servingly, but very important to all federal agencies. The Congress is watching. And in the case of the Department of Homeland Security, there have been instances in which the department has just, cut a program that uses personal information because there have been insufficient assurances that privacy, both in terms of the IT system and in terms of just how individuals use the data, have taken place. If there have been issues, the Congress is not satisfied, they just don't refund you or they cut the funding out from under you. Also, there are situations in which Congress writes into appropriations language that says X program, no dollars shall be spent on X program until the Secretary of Homeland Security certifies that privacy and typically civil rights and civil liberties too have been addressed in the design and planning for the program. For those of us who are feds, there are civil and criminal penalties under the Privacy Act for misusing personal information or using it inconsistent with the Act. And I think I speak for all of my federal colleagues when we say that the best thing you can do is to have a truly comprehensive privacy program that is operationalized throughout the department and is baked in wherever possible into IT systems and to programs. Very quickly, just to show you, there are three legal pillars of privacy that we, actually all of us as federal agencies, have to abide by. These set up frameworks for how privacy is addressed, how personal information is handled. I won't go into details or read the slide to you, but it's key to know that there is the Privacy Act of 1974, which sets out a series of fair information practices that are now sort of the standard framework for dealing with personal information throughout the federal government, many state governments as well, and many international legal regimes as well. The E-Government Act of 2002, which requires a privacy impact assessment be carried out for any new IT system or any IT system that was in existence at the time the act was passed but has since been updated, however substantially. Again, a privacy impact assessment is both a document and a process that we all use in the federal government to analyze the privacy risks, mitigate the privacy impacts, and disclose to the public, because these documents, 99% of them are indeed made public, how information is used, whether it's going to be shared with others, what security, that there are security protections in place, and what individuals' rights are to have access to the data and be sure that it's corrected if it's no longer timely or even necessary for a particular purpose. And then, of course, there's a Freedom of Information Act, which allows anyone to seek information from the federal government. A key portion of what we do that is related to privacy, kind of a flip side, is transparency. This is a schematic view of what our office does, the Privacy Office. Again, I won't read it all to you, but just know that as you're looking at it left to right, we take the key fair information practice principles that my colleague Roanne will go into in a little more detail later, and operationalize them throughout the department by developing policy that helps to protect PII, that's our term of art, personally identifiable information, which is information that is tied to an individual or could be linked to an individual. We do a lot of training.